Hello, and welcome to... we go with the hand again.
Saying hi.
And welcome to the fifth Fetter. This is the 11th lesson, and it's the 10 pointers for the fifth Fetter. And the reason why we have the 10 pointers is partly for you if you have done all the lessons in sequence and you are now ready to enter into the sixth Fetter, then it's really good to kind of like push pause and answer these questions that we are going to talk about today, because they're very much going in depth on different layers of the fifth Fetter, but they're also helping you looking deeper into the lower fives as, you know, as a, how can you say it, as a whole.
Yeah.
But the 10 pointers here are also really good for you that are past the lower fives. You're past the fifth Fetters. You might be in the 6, 7, 8, 9 or whatever. And then something happens in your life where you start to feel aversion towards someone or resentment towards someone or towards yourself. You get flushes of anger or ill will or start to blame or complain or whatever. And so you know it's here in the fifth Fetter, but you don't really want to go through all the lessons again. I mean, this is the 11th lesson and there's 12 in here. Then you can use the pointers that we have here just to kind of like touch base on where you are and maybe see in which area it is that you need to go deeper and tweak it. And I think we should just get going. What we're going to do is we're going to take one pointer at a time and then talk about it. And what we can recommend you to do is to make notes, partly about what you think about the things that are coming up in you, but also what we are saying. If there's any conflict, anything that you would like to look into deeper, then make notes about it and come to either the inquiry or the Q&A, and then we can talk about it.
Absolutely.
And help you unravel that one.
Yeah.
So should we get going?
We should.
I was thinking if we start, I start to take the first one, you take the second one, like that. Okay.
That works.
Okay, so the first pointer. Selfing is a feedback loop of bodily sensations and thoughts that are reinforcing each other. What I consider to be reality is only a reflection of my perceptions. It's neither true or real. And we have chosen to make this one the first one because it's very much where what Todd usually says, where it puts the non-rubber to the non-road, because it's really looking into the idea that when you have a sensation of selfing, when you have the idea of selfing, that there's a me, myself, and I happening here, then when you look closer into what that actually is, it's sensation in the bodies that is making a feedback into a thought that is making into a sensation and into a thought. And that feedback loop that is happening all by itself. There's just a frontal lobe in the middle of that going like, ooh, I feel, ooh, I think. But in reality, is not there at all. So I think if we just take that part first, and then we can take the other part afterwards.
Yeah. So should I just chip in a little bit? So, So we tend to talk about this a lot, but basically what it is we have a whole bunch of feedback systems in the body where we have a lot of felt senses that fly under the radar most of the time. We don't recognize that we're feeling all sorts of things in the body. Some of those are responsible for when we are thinking in our minds, when we hear ourselves speaking or are singing a song in our head or something. The muscles in the jaw, the tongue, the lips, all of those are very subtly micro-moving. You'll have facial expressions that actually change to mimic what we're thinking about, which is really funny, because if you ever notice, like, stop and just watch people, like, you know, on the street or whatever, they're not talking, but you can see a whole range of emotions going on. Like, you can kind of tell what they're thinking just because the face is doing the thing that the mind is thinking about at that point. We get you have a thought about, oh, I've got to pay my taxes, in a month. You get this flurry in the stomach. That's this anxious feeling of all the stuff that has to be done. And that just feeds back into that and creates a sense of stability and realness about that thought, that all of a sudden that's something I have to pay attention to. That one's a real one.
Yeah, and it's funny because if we ask you now to imagine that you close your eyes and you imagine it's summer and you're going to a fresh market and it's fresh vegetables and the strawberries have just come in, and you go to one of the what do you call
Kiosk,
it? One of the stands that are there at the market, and they have a pile of fresh strawberries, and you take one of those strawberries up and you smell it. By now you're sitting like Todd and smiling and producing saliva and wonderful, and all that was just by words that you heard, but your mind created pictures to go with that, and it was logging into memories of previous strawberries and previous summers
and remembering what they smell like, and so it registers a sense of smell, and you have this anticipation of taste.
And in that there's, I remember when I went to the market and it was so warm, and it was warm asphalt, and
I remember being in Copenhagen and there was like these incredible strawberries out in one of those little farmers markets, and it was just like the smell was just so strong, and that was as soon as you said that was what popped up.
That memory came up. Exactly. As if that was as a you being there. If there's a separate self there that was in Copenhagen and experiencing the farmers market with the strawberries. And when we then start to really look into that and really pick it apart, we just discover that it's sensory experiences in the body. Period. New chapter. Any thoughts. Period. New chapter. And other sensory experiences. But what the frontal lobe does is connecting all of it into a picture that we then call a memory. And I have that memory, the frontal lobe, because the frontal lobe is always taking the credit for anything that's happening.
So, but if you get really clear on the senses, because something that I always try to make people recognize is that we only have 5 senses, which seems, we all know that, but we have the sort of internal mental version of them, and then the external physical version of them. And if you can experience something, it is always in one of those 5 sense fields. And so a lot of people will say, oh, but there's something else there and it's very mysterious, or there's something and I can't find it. I can't explain how I feel it or how I know it. It's just there. It just means you haven't looked deeply enough at it to recognize it's in one of those 5 places.
It can only be in one of those 5 places.
Exactly. And it's most likely a combination of those 5. It's an interweaving of them so fast that a lot of the times we just don't recognize it. But if you break it down, it's like, what am I feeling in the body right now? I feel identified. I feel this sense of self is really here and has had this experience in Copenhagen and remembers all of this. Okay, stop for a second. What is actually going on in the body? Feel the places in the body that feel solid. Feel how that's relating to the thought. Recognize that you have an image in the mind of strawberries. You have a sense of strawberries. You have not just a thought about having been there, but there's like a bunch of snapshots that kind of are stitched together in a way that we don't really see that thread, but that is implying that these things are connected in a way. That the smell of strawberries is even connected to the image of the strawberries is something that we take for granted, but it's not. It's like a one after another consecutive kind of things that pop up, and they create this
tapestry.
Exactly. This what's the word for
patchwork?
Yes, not exactly the one that was in my mind, but that works. Collage. It creates a collage out of all of these different sense fields, and then we take that as being one solid thing, and it's not. So it's just an invitation to inquire deeper into what your actual experience is, to have that just pull apart. You see all the different little threads, and the whole patchwork falls apart.
Yeah, and it's also why we have that sentence that we say that selfing is just sensory experiences.
Yeah.
Or what Alan Watt said that the sense of self is just contraction in the body.
Chronic muscular tension and chronic muscular contraction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
And it is.
And it's really looking into that. What was it we said in the point? That selfing is a feedback loop of bodily sensations and thoughts that are reinforcing each other.
Yeah.
And if we go into the fifth fetter, because the fifth fetter is very much about believing that there's kind of like a separate pseudo reality or separate possibility of a now that could be different.
Yeah.
Where Janice is not annoying.
Yeah.
And that is then woven into the tapestry of all the sensory experiences in the body and the thoughts and the visual pictures that we. I also want to say when we talk about the five senses that what we see is partly what we see here, but it's also what we see for the inner eye.
Absolutely.
And what we hear is partly what we hear, the beeping of the beans that are done. Yep. It's partly what we hear, but it's also the inner monologue that we have with ourselves, or dialogue that we have with the thought and the thinker, dialoguing with itself. Yep. It's talking about the taste and the smell of a strawberry, which is not here right now.
No.
So it's something that is happening on the inside. It's not on the outside.
Yeah. Going further actually brings you to the really interesting stuff of where there is no inside or outside, but that's further along.
It's a sixth fetter. It is. Yeah, next chapter.
Exactly. But in the moment, it is really, really interesting to notice how much of our experience about what we think is happening now on the outside or in the real world is just carried on all within this little black box.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the next sofa set we're doing, where we are picking that apart and making you aware of there is no inside and there's no outside. But that's not for this one here.
No.
So let's just finish the other part of the first point. What I consider to be reality is only a reflection of my perceptions. It's neither true or real. I would like to take the first one, that what I consider to be reality, it's just my perceptions.
Yeah.
Because that's also really, really important in what we have talked about in the fifth fetter, where the bubble of reality, we kind of finished talking about the bubble of reality, that whatever you think you perceive is happening out there, it's only a reflection and can only be a reflection of your perception. It's not real at all. It's just a reflection of something that is happening in you. It's just just a perception. Yeah,
because we don't have a completely unbiased, unfiltered lens. Everything that we see is filtered through all of our past histories, our beliefs, our internal beliefs about ourselves and about the way that we interact with others and how others are supposed to be interacting with us and how things are, and it's all. It's all a very delusional perception of.
And it brings it into the last part of it, that is neither true or real.
Yeah.
That whatever I perceive, it cannot be true or real. It can only be a perception, and it's only perceived by any of the five senses, or a collaboration of the five senses in a feedback loop of it.
Yeah, even if you have 100 people in a room all looking at a yellow lemon, nobody is seeing that yellow lemon as the same color yellow. They're not seeing it from the same angles, the same
storyline.
Yeah, exactly. I love lemon. This is a delicious looking lemon. I've had much better lemons when I was in wherever.
It looks waxed.
Looks waxed. Yeah.
It's not organic.
And I bet there's beeswax on it, so it's not really vegan. And we can put all of these. Or I'm allergic to lemons. Keep it away from me.
Oh, bees! You said I'm allergic to bees.
Yeah. So we can go on these whole storylines based off of just a lemon in the room, but every single person in that room has a completely different experience of it, and none of us can ever actually know what that lemon really is. That's just it's the best that we can do to experience something in the world, but we have no way of stepping outside of our experience to actually get an unbiased, unfiltered look at what it is.
And that is what we mean when we say that it's not true or real. It can't be, since there are as many different experiences of it and perceptions of it as there are people in the world. There's not one true or one real experience. It's just a perception.
Yeah,
it's just a perception, and there's no one perceiving it. Because we're also perceiving with lots of filters, like you say with the lemon that we see, that all the filters we have between seeing the seeing the lemon and it actually reaching into into a perception.
Yeah.
It's not even unfiltered anymore.
No. Besides the fact that, it's not really a non-dual thing, more is more a scientific thing, but just the fact that we can only see certain wavelengths of light. So even the fact that what's there, we have no idea what color that lemon really is, because we can only see what we can see. We can only smell the range of chemicals that we can smell. Our tactile perception of it and our taste perception is all filtered on our sensory apparatus. So
for example, like that the forest smells so wonderful after rain. It's not that the forest smells wonderful after rain. It's just that now there are water molecules attached to all the oils that make it possible for us to smell it. Or like the birds that we see as brown or gray, we now know that it's not how other birds see them. They see them in amazing colors that we can't see at all. We say that, it's such a boring color bird, but it's not. It's just how we see it. But we're going to talk more about that in the sixth fetter. Yeah,
and the point of all of that is because it loosens up that sense of certainty that we have about our perception is the right perception.
My opinion is the right opinion.
Absolutely. Well, it is. But but it's the idea that there is something in the world which is stable and believable and true the way that we originally assumed growing up that it is, and that we reflect that same thing about ourselves, that there is that something in me which has always been here, will always be here, is the real self that it feels like it is. And it's recognizing that if a lemon isn't even the thing that you think it is, yourself is well not the thing that you thought it was. Like we're on another whole level of illusion.
Yeah, not even to bring us into the part about what's it called, impermanence, that nothing ever stays the same either. Nope. I mean, but that's a whole other talk.
It is. But this is all just ways of loosening up our assumptions,
rigidity.
The rigidity of how we believe we are seeing everything.
Yeah, because the fifth fetter is very much about rigidity, that we perceive something in a certain way and we're sure this is how it is. She was rude towards me. Are you sure about that? Are you absolutely sure about that? If a lemon is not a lemon to all of us and we have no idea how that lemon is, how can you with certainty say that she was rude? It's just your perception. Another person would say that she was bang on.
Yeah, completely in the right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that all we wanted to say about that? I think it was.
I think that's sufficient. We do talk about that one a lot in different ways. I think we cover it.
We do. Okay, you take the second one.
All right. The second pointer. Comparing what is currently happening with an imaginary story about what might have happened or expectations of what could have happened is the sole cause of our dissatisfaction.
Yes.
Yeah. So we do talk about this one a lot also because it is so fundamental, both in the fourth and fifth fetter range, but also just in our general satisfaction with life the way that it is. It could be the cause of your frustration and reactivity and all of that, or it could just be this very underlying subtle idea that that lemon is not as good as the lemon could have been. That is the best lemon that lemon could have been, and you have the best experience that you could have with that lemon in that moment.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically what is happening, and we've talked about this a lot, but just to recap it, what basically happens is that you have a situation which is right here, and it is exactly the way that it is. And then the mind says, but you know what? It could actually have been this other way. It could be a little bit better if only that sun wasn't coming through the window the way it is. If only that, I wasn't as thirsty as I am right now. If only I had a new car. If only, whatever. And you get these ideas that are there, and then we decide that possibility gets compared to what is actually here. And then, of course, this looks shabby in comparison. Yeah, this is not as desirable as the thing that I can imagine. But I can imagine absolutely anything, and there is no indication that that thing is even possible, no less plausible, or
possible. No, it's just possible.
No, and so, we don't make that jump. We just go, okay, this is here. That could be here. I am really unsatisfied now because I don't have that thing. And that can bring all sorts of suffering and feelings of dissatisfaction and craving and striving. And honestly, that's what causes so much striving in the spiritual community. It's the idea that I'm not good enough where I am. There's something I'm not awake.
I'm not awake.
There's something so unsatisfying about who I am.
And also the way I meditate is not the right way I meditate.
Well, it's not good enough. No. There are other people that can sit there and just be completely gone for hours at a time. And I'm actually watching my breath, and then I'm getting distracted and I'm coming back. And that's not as good as it could be. And so I feel terrible about myself as a meditator, and I might even give up the whole thing because...
That's it. We have actually heard that a lot of people saying that, I think I should just give up.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? Give up what? Give up life? I mean, you can't give up. There's no alternative to this.
No.
So give up what? Yeah.
And all of it is just because you are taking what is right now and deciding that it could possibly be different.
Yeah.
And then complaining and feeling let down or unsatisfied because it's not living up to your imagination.
But it's also the part that why contentment is the antidote to the fourth and the fifth.
Yeah.
Contentment is the antidote because the moment you have the idea that something can be better. We talked about it in the last inquiry group we had, where we talked about, but if I get an itch while I'm sitting and meditating, should I scratch that itch or shouldn't I scratch that itch? And it's not so much about whether you should or you shouldn't. It's looking into the idea that something could be better. Because if you scratch that itch, it's going to be, 30 seconds? Then it's going to scratch somewhere. It's going to itch somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it's really, really looking into that contentment, that you believe that something could be better than what is right now. It would be much better. My meditation would be so much better if I didn't have all the thoughts, if I didn't have this itch, and if I wasn't thirsty, and if I had gone for a walk, and if, all of the things that we believe in that parallel universe where everything is just perfect and I am awake.
Yeah, completely. The ideas too are that, we put so much into, I would be happy if I had that thing. If I was awake, I always invite people to look into, what do you really have? What are your expectations? What do you really think you're going to get out of any project or anything that you think you want? Because whether it's waking up, whether it is getting that new job or the new car or a new house or whatever the thing is, or a new relationship, whatever, look into what you think is going to be different from how it is now, and look into what it is that feels unsatisfying in that regard about what's happening now, and recognize that most likely that thing is not going to fulfill, it's not going to scratch that itch, because like you said, the itch is just going to move to something else, because that's not really the root of any of it.
It's a plus one game. It's a plus. The fourth and the fifth is about becoming aware of that plus one game that the mind does all the time.
It does, and it's doing it because you're trying to escape something that is here. Yes. There's some discomfort here. So it's not that you have an idea that the car would make your life so much better. It's that there's something uncomfortable here. That car seems like a likely distraction. Something that if I have that, sure, I'm putting all of my hope into that thing. In one case, because you probably won't get it, and so it's always better to say, well, if only I had that thing. Then it keeps you out of this moment into that idea of, if I get that thing, then if I win the lottery, then all the things I'll do with those billions of dollars when I win the lottery.
Yeah.
we get more enjoyment. I mean, they've done those studies. We get more enjoyment out of planning a vacation than we do actually going on the vacation.
Yeah.
So there's so much wrapped into just being out of here, into the mind, into our imagination and our projections, that is so so distracting in the real world, in like a positive way. In what we're doing, it's something that we want to look into and stop doing that so that we can come to be with what's here, so we don't have to distract ourselves every moment. But it's just recognizing that that imaginary thing is not going to save you. That imaginary thing is not going to give you what you want to get from it. What you actually want is what is here right now. It's that complete contentment with things exactly the way that they are, when you stop imagining things that aren't here and saying, if only that imaginary car was in my driveway. Well, it's not, and it won't be, and you don't need it. There's no vacancy of a car in that driveway that is making this moment terrible. This moment is perfectly fine as it is. Carless, tripless, whateverless.
Yeah. And it's going back to the first pointer that we just had about that feedback loop that you have, with a contraction in the body into a thought, into a contraction to the body, into a thought, and all that is just your perception. Yeah. So the way to stop it is not forcefully stop it. Is to zoom in and zoom in and zoom in and slow down, slow down, slow down. How does it actually feel? How is that connected to a thought? If you detach that thought, how does it actually feel? And then really, really look into the contentment in between all the discontentment. Yeah. Because the contentment is where reality lies. The contentment is present all the time. It is. You can at any point feel into contentment. It's just about, really looking, really, really slowing down and really, really looking.
Yeah, that's why I often recommend the see, hear, feel practice to people. Because
I love it.
Being in direct experience for even a couple seconds gives you that like real immersion and joy with what is, in a very contented way, where it's just the colors on that wall are so mesmerizing and lovely that you don't need anything outside of that, because you, in that moment, you don't have any imaginary fantasies about what could be making this better or why this isn't good enough or any of that. It's just simply whole and perfect as it is showing up.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Is there anything more to add? Okay, the third one.
You have some serious light on you.
Yeah. It's funny that it was so dark earlier and snowing and completely, we turned all the light on. We did not need that.
And now the sun just came out to help out. So thank you,
amazing. Sun. Okay, third pointer. Since no one needs to change or do anything different, why do I need for them to conform to my views? And it's another one that we actually talk about a lot. It's about that at this point, when the third pointer is useful is when you have realized about the bubble of reality. So, you know that this moment is perfect as it is. You know that in this moment right now, there is only contentment. You have zoomed into that you know that there's only contentment. You know that this moment cannot change or be any different than it is. If that is the case, then why does Janice need to be any different? And it's obviously because for you, it would be so much easier if she could change, so you don't have to look into the underlying reason for you to want her to be any different. It's about that in a lot of cases when we work with the fifth fetter, we really, really become aware how much we are projecting onto other people. That Janice is always interrupting. So I should look into how am I interrupting Janice? How am I interrupting other people? Why does it bother me so much that she is interrupting? Am I interrupting? Do I don't listen to myself, to the things that I want to say? Do I not make myself heard? Is there anything in that I need to look at? Because we only get annoyed and irritated and angry at other people when they are allowed something that we do not allow ourselves. So if this moment is perfect, so is Janice, you know? So is the IRS. So is the government. So is, everything that is happening. If this moment is exactly like it's supposed to be and contentment is the only feeling, then what is it that I think should be different on the outside? And that is a hint to the mirror in the bubble of reality.
Yeah, it's a really good summary. I mean, I don't know how much really to add to it, honestly, because it's the bubble in itself. And yeah, I mean, I feel like it's the similar corollary to what we just talked about with the second pointer.
Yeah, and also if there's anything in this one that really creates issues for you, then go back to the 2 lessons about the bubble of reality. We talked about doing a retreat at some point, specifically working with the bubble of reality, because it can really be a punch in the stomach, when you really realize how much you are actually projecting onto other people. And for a lot of people, it's difficult not to start with the self-flagellation about, I shouldn't be like that, I shouldn't. And then you start with the complaining and blaming and shaming of yourself, which is not helpful at all.
No, that's a really good point, that we're looking at these things from a curious and diagnostic standpoint, but without any of the, that it's not good to be judging other people, but yet we still do that to ourselves all the time. And we forget to extend that courtesy to ourselves.
And kindness,
the kindness to ourselves that we extend to others. Yeah. So, being curious, recognizing it, looking into why it is that I feel this, this judgment that towards others that they feel, or this... The sun is playing with you now.
Yeah, it's really wonderful.
Or, that this person interrupts, or whatever it is. Looking into that is just it's a reminder in real time in the world for self-inquiry, but not a judgment or a thing to start causing, as you said, more shame or self-flagellation or anything, because it doesn't say anything about you. It is just an indication of the processes going on, and it's an invitation to look deeper into those processes and get under the hood and see what's actually happening in there.
And again, it's circling back to the first pointer, that if you think that it says something about you, who is that you?
Yeah.
who is that? Who is it pointing at? Who you is it pointing at? If selfing is just a sensory experience, it's just a contraction in the body, and then there's a feedback loop into a thought that gives a loop into another sensory experience. Who is the you that you can, be on your case about?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
I think that's
if there's anything to add, please write in the comment section.
Yeah.
Fourth pointer.
Can anyone be unworthy of love? Can you be unworthy to love yourself? Can love be conditional? Remember, contentment is the only feeling. Kindness is the only action.
Yeah. There's 3 really, really good things in it. I think we should start with the first one.
Yeah, can anyone be unworthy of love? It all comes down to that idea of love being conditional on something else. And who is the arbiter of that? We have this idea that there's like certain things that are just beyond the pale, that excludes that person from society. They must be cut off. They must be ostracized, and they are absolutely unworthy of my love and my compassion. And there's a very sliding bar. For one thing, it's not consistent. So you might take, the worst examples of hatred and genocide in history, and you'll have people who feel like that person is absolutely unworthy of our compassion and love, and then you'll have other people who think that they are like the savior and have nothing but love for them. So that idea itself is a projection of whether somebody is actually worthy of it or not, because it's all relative depending on your perceptions of who's right, who's wrong, your belief systems and all of that.
Yeah.
But the issue is in our regular daily life that we have the idea that, I have to be a certain way in order to be worthy of love from others, that there's something deeply flawed about me. So I have to do something to keep making myself better and palatable and worthy of them. And oddly enough, we almost can never get to that point for ourselves. There's always something where there's like a plateau somewhere up there, and I can see it, but I will never actually reach it, because there's always, as you say, it's like a +1 game, that there's always something more that can be done. There's always some reason why I'm not good enough. Do you want to, before we go to, because I'm kind of sliding into the other
it's
one
just
already.
exactly. It's just that really looking into, can anyone ever be unworthy of love? And if so, who is deciding that?
Yeah.
Who is deciding that? What? And if you start by saying, but we have like societal rules that if somebody, kills somebody, then they should be put to prison and they should be punished. But it's not what we're talking about, is it? We're talking about love. We're talking about love. We're not talking about that because somebody's doing something and breaking the law or killing someone or doing genocide or something, then we can't have compassion with that person. Where does that come in? Where does that come in?
Yeah. I feel like there are a couple things there too.
Yeah, go on.
So on one hand too, we have, like you said, if we kill somebody, that cuts you off from that. But we also have people who get paid as soldiers to kill people.
There we go.
And yet we applaud them and love them and all of that. And so it's not the idea
we pay butchers
to kill animals for us. And yeah, so it's not there are no black and whites in any of this. Everything is deeply, deeply gray when it comes to coming up with where the level of acceptability is within any given action. But to use that as something where that is the scale that we're going to use. And as you said, there is no connection between being able to love somebody and the actions that they have. Like, you can have the utmost love for a tree, and that tree arguably has never done anything that you're really aware of. It could be like the Hitler of trees, and you have no idea that tree is not, but you still feel this love for the tree because you don't know, it's just this beautiful thing, and you just feel that. You can have love for a broken car, you can have love for a broken dish, you can have love for anything, because that love is coming out of you. It's a feeling that you are projecting outwards, and it has nothing to do with the other object or the other person or anything else.
That is actually a really, really good point. It's about the part of becoming aware of that the love that you feel for another person has not really anything to do with the other person. It's something that is happening in you. It's when we talk about empathy and you empathizing with another person, it's not so much about the other person, it's something that is happening in you. The empathy is in you. And now the thumb came up.
Oh no. No.
I hate this update.
Mac.
This update.
Mac.
Oh,
but
great.
But the other thing of that is, that's why we have the metta meditation, where you take and you feel love for people that you're really close to, and then you feel love for people who you're neutral to, and then you feel love for people who you really don't like for whatever reason or really have problems with, and show that it has nothing to do with those people, and also to yourself. And it has nothing to do with the people who you're feeling it for. You are generating that love, and you are projecting it out, and you are equally justified in sending it to the person who you think is the least likely or least worthy of it, because that's just your projection. And so you're just sending this love absolutely everywhere without limit.
Yeah. Before we move on, could you draw the curtains?
Oh, but
I'm enjoying. So I'm really, really enjoying the sunshine, and I think it's beautiful, and I love it. I can't see your eyes, and I would like to see your eyes when we talk.
Should I just hold my hand here?
You could, but I still can't see your eyes.
Okay.
Could you just draw the curtains? Thank you. Yeah.
Good?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Need
I'm going to put my leg over here.
That works.
Thank you for that. The next point in the fourth was, can you be unworthy? No, can you be unworthy to love yourself? Because that's a part of the metta meditation that most people, they really, really struggle with.
Yeah, it's so hard for us to feel that sense of love for ourselves. I mean, we do have an easier time often sending it to opposing politicians and stuff than we do to ourselves. Because we do take, it's like we have this idea of the memory of everything that we have ever done wrong in our lives, or the way that we perceive that we have done something wrong in our lives, and all of the times that we felt shame and all the times that we felt embarrassed and all of that, and it has been locked in so deeply in this kind of net of me that it creates this sense of course, everybody sees me as broken and disgusting and flawed as I see myself, because I'm remembering all of the worst moments in my history and taking those to be indicative of me and who I am and how I am in the world. And it is such a nasty, negative way that we tend to view ourselves. And it's so unfair. But it gives us that real repulsion to actually saying, I love myself, or feeling, doing a metta meditation and actually feeling that sense of love and sending it back to yourself is just so difficult.
But there's also something societal about that if you go out and say, I really, really love and appreciate myself, then it's perceived as like, oh, you're full of yourself and you shouldn't think like that, and
Yeah, it's a weird. We have like a double standard on that.
Absolutely.
We always had that as being like, that was like the ego being big and bloated and all of that. And then we got to where it was like the sort of positivity thing of like people who ordinarily would be down on themselves, reminding themselves that, I love myself and all of that. And I think in some ways it's maybe genuine, and in other ways it's just lip service, because it doesn't really get to the root of why you don't feel like you love yourself to begin with. And it just becomes a way of saying, I love Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts. And it's like, you don't really believe it, and it's not really doing anything other than the fact that, it's getting you to eat your Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's a bit different of what I meant, but it's a really, really good point that the whole toxic positivity movement that has been where we say, I love myself, and you have a thought, no, I don't. It wasn't so much what I was talking about. I was hinting more to, in Scandinavia we have that jante.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we have that jante thing where you shouldn't
that's
think
a
that
very
you're someone.
you guys thing.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring it up for all the Scandinavians out there. That we have that that shame connected with feeling contentment about yourself. About being happy with yourself. You can feel it, but you can't tell anyone that you feel it. You need to be more humble than that. And it's a societal pulling other people down. Obviously, the whole point of Yanda is to, even though you are being put down, that you still feel proud and you still feel kindness and still feel compassion, that you don't let yourself be pulled down, no matter what other people they try to do and put you down.
Here, ironically, it's like we have so much rampant ego that on the face of it, it seems like we have the opposite issue, though I think underneath that rampant ego there's so much pain and there's so much self-hatred that outward expression of egoism and alphaness and pride and all of that is really just a way of, it's a defense from actually feeling how...
Yeah, and also a lot of times I also hear it like that, diversion. That when I keep saying, how proud I am of myself and how good I'm doing and, how much money I'm making and how amazing I am, that it's just a diversion for what I actually think. But if I talk about, the thing over here, you won't notice what is actually going on here. Yeah. But we're getting away from the point that we're actually talking about. Is that, can you be unworthy to love yourself?
Yeah, and of course not. We have to look at all of those things that are causing you to feel shame and causing you to feel that unworthiness, and sit with it, come into the body, recognize where this is coming from and what's the belief that's at the root of this supposed unworthiness. Are you okay?
Yeah, I just want to see if it's recording.
Yeah, that would be a bummer. But yeah, see what you perceive is at the root of this unworthiness, and then bringing that sense of love to that is actually super helpful. But of course, there's nothing about you that could possibly be unworthy of your love or anybody else's love. Just like we've discussed with other people and broken dishes and everything else. That it's all. You can emanate love in a way that is so not non-specific, but it's just so generalized and pervasive that it has absolutely nothing to do with this idea that there's a worth or a value or that you have to be able to earn it.
Yeah, you don't have to earn it. That's the whole point. That you cannot not love yourself. That if there's only contentment, then the choice of you not loving yourself is not really on the table.
No, not at all.
And that brings us to the last. No. There's more. But wait, there's more.
Well,
can love be conditional? I think we have established that one.
Yeah.
Not of course not.
No.
Then it's not love. If it's conditional, then it's not love.
No, it's just a transaction.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, it's that even when it comes down to loving somebody conditionally, it's I'm withholding this feeling within myself until you do something which I deem worthy of feeling this myself. But it brings me back. I don't remember if this is this? Yeah, okay. I think it's actually kind of the next pointer, so I'm not going to get into that yet.
Yeah. But go on.
Well, it's the idea that, again, we cannot, we can only project love, but we can't actually receive love from somebody else, and the other person cannot actually receive the love that we are projecting out to them. So the idea of having a contractual love system is just ridiculous anyway. It's based on nothing. It's like it feels good to love somebody, right? So it's like saying, I am withholding feeling good for you until you do something that makes me feel like you're worthy of me feeling good in this moment.
But that's not love. And it's not love. It's contractual, which means that it's based on you giving me something. It's a business. Yeah. It's not love. No. Love is unconditional.
Exactly.
As soon as love turns conditional, then it's no longer love. Then it's a business transaction.
Yeah.
Something for something.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole concept is silly in multiple different ways.
Yeah. And the last part of it is contentment is the only feeling and kindness is the only action. And again, we are back to the antidote of the fourth and the fifth, which is contentment, that whenever you feel craving or want, or you feel aversion, or you feel ill will and anger, get back to that deep feeling of contentment that is always there. And that is what is guiding you into like the vibration which is beneficial in that point. And then also the last part about that kindness is the only action. It's the only thing you can do. You cannot always be happy. That's impossible. No. Life gives you sour grapes and you cannot be happy always. You stump your foot and you have pain. So you cannot always be happy. That's impossible because happiness is a feeling. So that is coming and going. But kindness as an action, you can always be kind. You can always be kind to you. You can always be kind to other people. You can always be kind to this moment, to your body, to your next inhalation, to the smile that you're putting on your face or the smile you're giving to another person. You can turn the light flick on kindly. You can open and close the fridge with kindness. You can be in the world with kindness. And that is an action that is the only action that you can have that is absolutely pure and out of free from anything else but itself, if you can say it like that, where there's no butting in of a me in any way, there's no selfing it in any way. It's just the pure action happening in that moment, like being in the world without causing harm in any way. That is kindness because you're not causing any harm. So it's like what the Buddha talks about a lot about in all of his suttas, that how you can be in the world where you cause least amount of harm in the world. Just by breathing, you can cause harm, but you can also just be kind in the way that you breathe, so you don't interfere or interact or stop anything around you in any way.
Yeah, and I would say notice, if you have any resistance to feeling kindness, look into what is right now the cause of you not being able to be kind to yourself, another person, a light switch, whatever else. There is something that hurts inside.
Yes.
There's something uncomfortable there that gives you that feeling that I have to be abrasive. I have to be rough and
look into why.
Yeah, exactly.
And also maybe for a lot of people, life is a zero-sum game. That if I am kind to you, then I'm not kind to me. Then I will be all dried up of kindness. There will be no kindness left. And if I'm kind to you, then who's going to be kind to me? You know, then there's... And it's a zero-sum game, you know?
And it just does not work like that.
No.
If it feels like you only have so much kindness to go around or only so much patience, then again, look at what happens when that is run out. Look at what's here now when there is no patience left. And you'll find what's at the root of this the fact that you can only kind of muster up enough socialization or enough gentleness to a certain point to before the masking stops working, before what's underneath just becomes too strong again.
It's a really good point about the masking, that the masking is there when we're pretending to be kind and we're pretending to be loving, but underneath there's like that boiling bile that is just lying there, you know, that then it's just, you know, a mask. It's just a pretend which you're playing, which is not the kindness we're talking about.
No.
The kindness is that kindness that is there as if there's not a separate self, as if there's nobody here that does anything, but it's just turning light on with no one to do it. Then it is automatically a kind action that is happening, that any being you come across that being with kindness, because there's not a separate self here that can be anything but kind.
And there's no ulterior motive. There's nothing to, you know, usually we interact with people, there's something to gain, there's something to be defended against, there's something here that has to be
achieved.
So when you don't have any of that, then of course, as you said, the base level of interaction is just kindness. And the contentment, same thing there, where if you don't feel that, you know, the contentment is the natural state of equanimity with whatever is as it is. And if you're not feeling that, then again, there's something there that's blocking that from being the natural state that it is. And recognizing that it's not a forced thing to force yourself to feel contentment. It's when you drop all of those...
Really get out of your own way.
Exactly. And drop all of those imaginary stories we talked about in one of the previous pointers, and really being with what's here is fully enough for contentment.
And that's why contentment is the only feeling and kindness is the only action. You just pat us.
I did. How did I do that?
You got water on your glasses and on your shirt and everything. Well done, you.
Thank you.
A storm in a glass of water.
Glass of water. I love that term, but now I know what it means.
It's basically just taught drinking a glass of water. having a sip.
Splash.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, the fifth one. That's me, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's actually your quote.
Oh, yeah.
Love is supposed to be received. So what is preventing me from feeling love right now? And I really, really love that quote. For a lot of people, when we talk about love, it's always talked about how you can give love and give love and give love and give love. And what we really want with this point is to make it very, very clear that you can't give love. You can only receive love. Love can only be received. So in all your relationships where you are frantically trying to give love for other people to feel the love, and you're giving the love and you're forcefully force-feeding them with love. God damn it.
Eat my
feel
love. How
much I love you. Don't you feel how much I love you? And now we're happy and we love one another, you know. And it's It doesn't work. It really doesn't work.
No.
Love can only be received.
Yeah.
And that means that if you have that need, what normally comes up when we talk about this in groups is that when we say that love can only be received, that there's always people that go pale, they go white, because they have spent their entire lives trying to show other people how much they love them, how much they are in the world for them, how much and give them, and they have bent themselves backwards for decades for the other person to feel how much that they love them. What we point at is that since love can only be received, while you were bending yourself backwards, who was giving you love? Did you receive the love that you were so frantically trying for other people to receive? Or where were you in that? When you were trying to force feed other people with your love, did you have any surplus love for you at all? Or was your focus on them for them to feel love? Where were you in that equation? Did you have to force feed them with love so they could show you love in return, so you could actually feel love in life? And we're a bit back to what we talked about before, that if you don't believe that love, if you believe that love is conditional, then you need to show other people love so they can show you love, and then you are content because they love me. I know that. I feel that. Look what they did. And that is into the whole idea that love can be conditional. But in reality, love can only be received.
Yeah, and I think a really important thing to note there is that when we say that, another person can show you, as you, maybe not in as forceful way as you were describing, but somebody can show you in all the ways that they can, that they love you.
Yes.
But if you are not capable of receiving that love, then it hits absolutely nothing.
Yes.
And it means nothing. So that's why, from your perspective of how you were saying, if you can't force somebody else to feel it, you also can't feel it from somebody else, no matter how kindly and lovingly they explain this or try to show you in whatever way they can that this love that they have for you. If you don't have that capacity for feeling love in yourself at that moment, it doesn't hit anything. It doesn't mean anything to you. And so recognizing that a lot of that often comes from what we talked about before with our inability to love ourselves.
Yes.
You have to really work to recognize that you are worthy of that love, to be able to love yourself so that you can actually feel the love that other people are giving you.
And also then there's also a resonance that when you give me love and you say you are wonderful, I love you, I go like, I get that.
I get that.
I understand why. I get that.
I'm pretty freaking awesome.
I am. I know that. Because I can feel the love in myself. Yeah. So there's a recognition or an echo or the same vibration that is met between us. Yeah. But I think we have all tried to have people in our lives that say, you don't love me. You don't show that you love me. And we are standing completely baffled. But we have showed in all different ways that we love them. Yeah. But because they can't feel it themselves, then it can't land anywhere. Whatever love you're giving, it cannot land anywhere. No. And then you might then ask, but what do I do in a situation like that? When a person in my life that I really, really love keeps saying that I'm not showing them love. Well, I think we have answered the things. Show yourself love. Yeah. You can only receive love, so make sure that you fill you up with love, and then whatever surplus will drip on them, and let the ripple effect take care of that. You can't save anyone. No. You can't save anyone. You can save yourself, and that's about it.
And if the person is doing this kind of work, then of course they can do the thing where they have more love for themselves and start to feel into their own worthiness of it. And I speak from experience. I had that for so long, where I had people who were extremely loving towards me. And it wasn't that I didn't think that they were. I knew that they were expressing love. I just didn't feel anything from it. It was just being basically numb to feeling anything. It's like, okay, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah,
you know?
I've had that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's a... You can recognize the kind of deficiency there in being able to, because I could feel love for other people, and I could feel, actually for animals often easier than people a lot of times. But like I could feel it, but I couldn't feel it for myself. And so I couldn't feel it when other people were expressing it towards me. There was just, it was like that uncrossable chasm between where I seemed to be and where they were, and the love just couldn't cross that bridge because there was nothing there that really felt worthy of it. So it's gotten a lot better. I've had that too. That I had the feeling that I could see that other people loved me, and I could see and recognize that what they did was loving actions, and that they did love me. It just didn't do anything to me. It didn't change anything in me. If they loved me or didn't love me. No, and it doesn't. Unfortunately, that's the thing where if you have a low self-esteem and you have a low self-worth, it really doesn't matter how much somebody else praises you and how much they say to you about how great you are and all the things that are positive about you. If you don't believe it yourself, it really is just talking into the air. It doesn't really have any effect. So that's why it's so important to really go into your own feelings of self-worth and lack thereof. And also, if you're in a relationship where you feel that I'm not receiving... Are you doing it again, babe? I noticed.
Can we get one of those? What do you call those? Baby sippy cups. Sippy cup. Where there's no water splashing on you. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Completely undercuts the point. But
what was I saying? I was saying... yes. If you're in a relationship where you don't feel that your partner is showing you love, instead of having the focus on what the partner should do to you, your shirt looks really, really wet.
I know it is. So is.
Instead of having a focus on what the partner should do to you, look at how you are receiving love yourself. Instead of but he's not showing it. It does it again. I need to control my thumbs. It's the thumbs. It's me doing thumbs up. Yeah.
It's so weird.
It is so weird. And I don't know why it does that. But it also does it with the hat, remember?
Yeah. Nope.
It does that.
Oh, mine works. Okay, so my heart works and your thumb works. Can we please turn this off?
I don't know how to turn it off. And if anybody knows how to turn it off, there we go. If anybody knows how to turn it off, could you guys write in the comment section, because this is getting funny.
Yeah. Will it do a thumbs down?
I does it the other way around. I don't even know how to do it the other way. Never mind.
With the other hand?
I don't know.
You were saying.
I have no idea. It's a part that if you feel that your partner is not showing you love, then the first thought that you can have is, okay, could this not have anything to do with my partner? Could this only have something to do with me? Yeah. Am I in a position to actually receive love? Am I receiving love from me? Am I making sure that my bucket of love is full before I'm demanding somebody else to fill it up? And really look into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know you have a lot of conversations in one-to-ones with people that don't feel loved by their partner.
Yeah, it's true. Absolutely true.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I think
sixth one.
This one's mine, right?
Yeah.
Sixth pointer. If I am no longer in charge of my life and I'm not deciding how to move forward, then absolutely nothing has changed.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's such a good one.
So there's a little turnaround there in the end, because we have the idea that we start off with the idea that we have this autonomy and we have this control over everything. We have to make all these decisions and puzzle everything out, and that life and death depends on everything that we do. And so the idea that we could possibly give that up when we start talking about there being no free will and no choice and no control and
no agency.
No agency. That seems terrifying, because then it seems like the world is just going to go completely chaotic and rampant, and we're going to just end up, all the worst things in life are going to happen to us because now we have no control and we're just giving up and surrendering and, all of that. But the point of that pointer is that nothing has changed. There never was a self who had agency or control or free will to begin with. That was just an illusion. And now the exact same being processing that we are considered ourselves to have been in the past, that same process is still continuing without the belief that there is agency and free will and all of that stuff that was never there to begin with. So absolutely nothing has changed in this situation.
The only thing has changed is an idea.
Exactly.
Nothing else.
No.
And it's the same when we talk about the fourth and the fifth, about the bubble of reality. A lot of people, the first thing they react to is the part about boundaries.
Yeah.
But if I do not put my foot down, they're gonna walk all over me. If I am not saying no and forcefully pushing away, they're gonna walk all over me.
Yeah.
But it's only an idea. It's only an idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
And nothing has changed when you let go of that idea.
No.
Nothing has changed. Nobody's walking anywhere anyway.
No. No, and there's actually... It's something, I mean, that brings up an interesting thing that we talk about, where there is there's a danger with doing this work where a lot of people feel like the point of it is just to become a doormat.
Yes.
And to just have,
yes,
I'll just lie down and let everybody walk all over me, and then I'll be completely equanimous with whatever happens, and that's the ideal. And I know I bought into that for years too. It was just like, whatever happened, nope, it's okay. Just, put all of that aside and it's perfectly okay. But that's not really the goal here. It's being in this, being able to be content with whatever is going on, but also recognize that the self-survival mechanism of this meat suit, this body-mind thing, has been going on for however number of years that you've been alive. And it is going to maintain even after that. And so you're not running out into speeding traffic. And there's a way in which you can advocate for the non-self in a way which is much cleaner and less reactive and more practical and useful, and you remain equanimous with what's going on, and yet you don't have to be that doormat.
But also look into how many ideas how many ideas you have had of you doing things in a certain way. So because I am anticipating, Janice is going to say something, so I'm gonna be ahead of her saying what I know she's going to say. I'm gonna rip her head off first, so she doesn't do that to me.
That's true.
When you don't do that anymore, and you are aware that that is just your perception, it's just your anticipation of something, then you can show up. Janice will be Janice and say what Janice says, and you feel into the moment. What is actually happening? What is it you perceive that she's doing? Yeah. Whatever you think she's doing, with whatever purpose you think she's doing that with, is your mirror. Yeah. It's your mirror talking. It's what you think is going to happen. It's got nothing to do with Janice. Yeah. It's only happening in your perception, in your reality, in your little bubble. So if you can just stay with that and go like, oh wow, okay, and you suddenly see lots of things about you, the situation is completely disarmed because you are not creating any drama. You're allowing Janice to be who she is. You are completely aware that whatever anticipation you have of what will happen, it's just in your own little bubble. It's not real at all. And when you realize that, nothing has changed because it was never real. Yeah. It was never real.
Yeah, it's a really good point that a lot of what we actually take to be us being a doormat or being somehow victimized by others is actually projection from our wanting something to be different or assuming that something is being done in a way that it's not or whatever. And this does give you a clearer way of seeing how much of that is coming out of me, what is actually happening, and then having that disarmament being a way of having you're okay with what is going on in a way that doesn't because you recognize that what you were once reacting to just isn't the way that things actually are in your experience now.
Yeah. So it's also the quote that I always say, that when all assumptions about identification falls, everything is different and nothing has changed. Because it's only an idea that you're letting go of, which means it hasn't changed anything, but the whole being in the world is completely different. Completely different. And it's also, now we're talking about something completely different, but it's also that idea that a lot of people have with awakening, that when I become awakened, then I wake up every morning and birds are waking me up and rainbows are over my head all the time, and it's like, a DMT trip when being awake, and it's just not. The only thing that's...
Speak for yourself.
The only thing that is different is just that all the assumptions you have about awakening is not there anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's real in a different way than real is, if I can say it like that.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Amazing.
7th.
Am I reading 7?
Yeah, I think you're 7. I think I just read 6, didn't I? Yeah, I did.
The 7th pointer. I don't need to understand anything. I mean, we could stop it there. Unconditional acceptance of the present moment results in instant equanimity and contentment. Equanimity and contentment are just huge ones when we talk about the 5th fetter. But the part about I don't need to understand anything, that on its own, it's a huge one, and it is tying us into the 10th fetter, where you really, really, truly understand that you do not know anything and you cannot know anything. Whatever, like back to the lemon, whatever you think is lying there on the table, it's just a perception of what you think is lying on the table. It is not what is lying on the table. We have no idea what it is actually that is lying on the table. If there even is something on the table, we don't know any of that.
No, I think scientifically it's probably, when we get down to it, it's a quantum probability field that has nothing to do with any sort of lemonness at that level. Yeah. But,
it's just our perception of that lemon. Yeah. But that's for the 10th. We can wait, we're talking about that. So if we 5th fetter this one about that I cannot know anything, then it's very much about looking at what you think is happening in the situation with Janice. What do you think is happening? Am I boring you?
Yes.
Okay.
It's dreadfully so. Wrap it up. Can we speed it up?
Can we speed it up? So whatever, I lost what I wanted to say. What did I want to say?
That when Janice, it was about not knowing.
Yeah. It's about that when I think that I know why she's doing that, like she's doing, and I know what will happen if I don't do, or if I do something, is really absolutely acknowledging that you have no bloody idea why Janice is doing what Janice is doing. You have no idea why you are doing as you are doing, because a lot of the way that we react in the world is because how we perceive it.
Yeah.
And the perception of the world is based on our biochemistry, on neurobiology, and all of that was created when you were in the womb.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of processes that are happening that is completely beyond anything that you have anything to do with.
And a lot of it's even generational, where even in the womb is affected by the mothers, grandmothers, and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I have antibodies for tuberculosis because my granddad had tuberculosis, and that was passed to my mom and then to me, as if I have had it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like you cannot possibly know anything. And I love the interview that I did with Vince, where I asked him, okay, so tell me about your story. And he goes, well, I think I should start with the dinosaurs. Because how far back do we go? Mm-hmm. How far back do we go? And we do not know why we do as we do. Like, just like that, we can now do brain scans and can see on people that they have psychopathic traits and they have we can basically on a brain scan see if this person has a higher likelihood of becoming a criminal, of ending up in jail, of
antisocial behavior.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we do not know any of that. We have absolutely no control of that at all. So we do not whatever you think you know to be true, it's just what you think is true. It's not what is true.
No. Absolutely. I mean, that was so comprehensive that let me just look at it again.
Unconditional acceptance of the present moment results in instant equanimity and contentment.
I feel like we have been talking about that this entire video.
Yeah.
But basically it comes down to just being direct experience in the moment with what's here, and there is, as long as there's no thought about something else that could possibly be different, the natural response to everything is that equanimous contentment. That is our default. If we aren't comparing and going back to, I remember those better days when lemons were so sweet and they were so big, and
when I was a
so
child.
much better. When I was a child, lemons have really become, they're like genetically modified now, and they're, we can go on these whole rant, but it has nothing to do with the actual thing that you're smelling or tasting or seeing. Just coming back to that, it is the most perfect lemon that has ever existed. And
I also want to say that if you should have like one mantra for the next period, it's just contentment.
Yeah.
Contentment.
Yeah.
And whenever you don't feel that, look into what it is that what is it right now that is making you think that you're not content.
Yeah. Yeah. What is that? Because most likely you will find something that is uncomfortable in the body.
Yes.
And probably some sort of thought about how this moment could be made better in some way by X. Yeah. And there will always be some X that jumps to mind, regardless of the fact that it's completely irrelevant to the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it.
Good. All right. Number 8.
I love that.
This is a great one. 8th pointer. I am not how you think I am. You are how you think I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. That is. Yeah. You talk.
Well. Where did you go?
I wanted to say this one.
Oh, okay.
I think it's in the verbal hoops here in the 5th Fetter that we look into that part, that what could be their motivation for doing like they do. And whatever you think is their motivation, that is your mirror. Well, their motivation, Janice, she's always interrupted because, she's such a drama queen and she always wants so much attention. That's Janice's motivation. Okay, that's your mirror talking. Interesting. So your motivation is that you are a drama queen and you need attention? Stay with that. Just stay with that. That's what we mean with that I am not how you think I am. You are how you think I am.
Yeah. Yeah, it always points back to, so much of what we have talked about in this video comes back to that whole bubble of reality issue of having no clear filter and recognizing that when somebody is pointing a finger at you, that it is pointing back at them. And that likewise, when you are pointing a finger at somebody else, it is pointing right back at you.
Yeah. Whatever you think other people are, it's definitely how you are.
Yeah. And get, I don't want to say get creative with it, but recognize that it might not always be a one-to-one thing. It might not be that person is interrupting and it irritates me, so I'm interrupting. Look into what else it is around that behavior of them being outspoken, and I don't feel like I can be outspoken, or that they have some self-confidence in the way that they project themselves that I don't have, or there could be something else related to that issue that isn't one-to-one that issue in you, though it also might be. But notice what that brings up, what insecurities that brings up around it.
In what area is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it might not be just that clear, and then you might get defensive and say, but I never interrupt people. I always listen, and it's just...
Interesting. So you never ever interrupt. That's super interesting. Why don't you interrupt? No, because people then interrupt, they're not listening. No. Okay, there we have an assumption.
Or they think that, people get really upset and they'll think I'm a jerk for that. Okay, well...
There you go.
Or if I interrupt, people won't like me and they won't talk to me.
There you go.
So get really... creative in the way in which you look at these things from different angles and see, to figure out which one it is that actually is your root issue here.
Yeah. And it's also an exercise you can do. Remember the exercise where I said that you walk around out in town and you look at everybody and you think, I love you, I love you, I love you. And you just get that feeling of love towards everybody that you see, and you just feel that connection of love in you towards the other person. You can also do this exercise. It's a bit more rough, but you go around and then you put labels on everybody. She is, he is, and everything you say about them is a reflection of you. It's all of those things you can stop, and then you can make notes about it. And then all the things you have said that other people are, that is what you are, Whatever you think they are, you are. That's what we need to talk about. Yeah. So what is it that comes up? It's a really, really good exercise to really get in contact with what is actually present in your life right now.
Absolutely.
Because there's a reason why that comes up right now. She's super arrogant. Just look at the way she walks, okay? So arrogance is an issue in your life right now. Yeah. What is that about? Oh, my mom is visiting next weekend. So whatever comes up right now for a reason. It's not about the story. It's about why it's relevant for you right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take a drink of water. I was waiting until I didn't want to interrupt your...
with your splashing. I'm sure everybody was holding the breath just like I did. Oh my goodness.
See, mindfulness works.
Yes. Can we draw the curtains now?
We can.
Thank you. Old man.
He's getting up. His bones are creaking.
It's been such a lovely day today.
It has.
Yeah. Been such a lovely day. We had a new king today in Denmark. Og rigtig hjertelig tillykke til hans majestæt. Just wanted to say that. It was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony.
It was.
Okay, ninth point.
Is that the one?
This is actually...
no, that's yours. That's right.
Yeah, this one is mine.
Yep.
This is actually one from one of yours, from a one-to-one in a group that said this, and I just loved it so much. When I get a feeling of being right, it is a cause for alarm. And that is such a potent one. That is such an important one. That whenever you have the feeling of knowing something, be very, very careful. Yeah. Be very careful. Whenever you think for sure that you know something, for sure that you are right, for sure that you are the one, with the upper hand, really, really be careful. Really be careful. Because you are absolutely trapped into an underlying belief that is a lie. Absolute lie. You are on the way down into a path that is only going to be a downward spiral for you. And in many ways, it can be really, really difficult to get back up from a downward spiral like that.
That's true. And it's all coming from a place of, okay. It's coming from a place of insecurity normally, that we feel like we need to have this knowingness and this sense of, rightness, because if I'm not right, well then that says something really terrible about me. And so of course, if I have to believe the right things, I would be an awful person if I didn't believe the right side of history, or I didn't believe I wasn't on the right political side or the right whatever. So we have to believe that as a self-bolstering, bubble. We create this idea that, of course, I'm going to have all of the information. I know the truth. I know what's right. I'm there. And then we forget to look into that and recognize that everybody feels that. Yeah. And if everybody feels that, they can't all be true. And so there's a insecurity that's being covered up. And then there's also, I mean, I did a whole video on this a long time ago about the sense of being right or knowing something, because there is.
Can you hold that thought a bit? Yeah. Because I just want to say about the insecurity for a moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
The part about, I grew up in a way where I thought that I needed to know everything, because not knowing was a sign of weakness, and now I obviously see that is such a sign of insecurity, that I need to know everything. But I've always been very cerebral. I've always wanted to learn. I've always known that there's more to learn, and I need to learn everything, and I need to research everything, and I need to dive into the root of everything. And I see now what a protection mechanism that was from an underlying belief of fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, of me being in a position, standing in a position where I would have to say, I don't know that. I don't know. And I started out by just allowing myself to say, I don't know right now. I need to sleep on it. Yeah. That was the first step that I took into allowing myself to saying, I don't know, period. Yeah. Because that I was not in a position to say, I don't know. So I would say, I don't know, I need to sleep on it, thinking, I do know, I absolutely know, I for 100% know. I do not need to sleep on it. I can tell you right now, but I'm not, because I've promised myself I'm going to sleep on it. Because I was so sure that I knew.
I went through a similar thing where, based out of fear, and I think I mentioned this somewhere before, I can't remember where, but it was about 15 or 16 years ago when I got into vegan activism, and I had made up a list of, I mean, I can't remember how many pages of facts I memorized about, all the problems with factory farming and the environmental aspects and the health benefits and the health negatives of meat and all that stuff. And I committed all of that to memory so that when I would go out and encounter people and leaflet and do stuff, that I had all the facts and all the truth and the right side of things to fall back on, so that I could counter any argument that they gave to me. I had the statistics and I had the facts to counter it. And so it bolstered that sense of fear. Yeah. And it covered that up. And it gave me that feeling that I was in the right in that case. And
for me, it was about that I had cancer, and I wanted to be absolutely sure that I would never, ever end up in a position where I would die of cancer. Yeah. So knowing everything to why a body develops cancer would secure me and my children forever dying of cancer. Yeah. So letting that go was about really looking into the fear of dying. That was the underlying fear, and thinking that I know everything. It's always about something else, because you cannot know anything, and you most definitely cannot know everything.
No, absolutely not.
You wanted to talk about the other.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, we regularly look past this phenomenon, but even the idea of feeling like we know something or we are right about something, that's an invitation to investigate what it even is that feels like certainty. Just the idea that I can know the truth about something is so delusional, but it's such a part of our normal everyday experience that, of course, I know the sun comes up in the east and it sets in the west, and I know it's, light during the day and dark at night. But what is it in the actual experience of seeming to know that thing and being right about that thing? Because there are a couple layers of it. There's the feeling of knowing, and that's a really curious experience to like have something pop to mind and really believe that it's true, but not know how or why you believe it's true. 2 + 2 is 4. Exactly. So really investigating that sort of thing is really interesting. But then the other thing is the conviction that what you believe is right. So there's having the belief that 2 + 2 is 4, and I know it's true, but I can't say exactly why I know it's true. But then there's that like really hard clenched conviction that if you tell me 2 + 2 is 5, I'm going to punch you. Like, I really believe this to my core, and I will fight you to prove that I am right and you are wrong. That is another level altogether. Like, what is behind that? Where is that fear coming from? You know, where is that anger and that righteousness? Yeah, what is that covering up? And so investigate that also.
And you have made a really, really good inquiry on Unfettered Mindfulness channel, where we have all the inquiries and all the meditations. You will find well done, babe, well done. No bib and no sippy cup.
Bib and no sippy cup. I'm a real boy.
You're a really big boy. You are. You really are.
I am.
You are. Circling back to the channel Unfettered Mindfulness, we have all the inquiries and all the meditations there. And there's a really, really good looking into the knower and the known.
Thanks.
A really good inquiry looking into that. And I remember the first time I heard it, I had all those feelings coming up in me. It's really, really good. It's really good.
Yeah, math is a thing. Like,
math is really a thing.
For some people, math.
I was so triggered about math.
Love that.
So triggered about it.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, 10th one.
All right, 10th one. So I really like this one. And so I think this one is going to be tricky for people. But 10th pointer. There is no difference in my concern for my life and for the life of the mosquito in my bedroom. And we're very specific about this one because, originally I said I didn't want it to be a mosquito. My life is not more important or more concerned than a mosquito, because a lot of people can have that sort of hypothetical. Yeah, I get that. I
can sit here. There's lots of mosquitoes outside. I'm fine. We're fine.
But have a mosquito in your bedroom and have that lights out and hear that buzzing, and then stop, and then see where that concern comes in. Yeah. And do you still feel that? And is there still that instinct?
Do you still feel that life and your life are equal?
Yeah, exactly. So notice in that moment where it feels like there is this real thing in you that absolutely needs to be supported, sustained, and is protected beyond the realm where everything else is expendable.
Yeah.
That for others to, it's okay for others to die so that I can survive.
Yes. Yes. And it's also, if you really look at it, we should be much more concerned about the little mosquito's life, because in a house full of people, that mosquito is really, really vulnerable.
Yeah.
Where in a house full of your family, you're not really vulnerable.
No, not at all. Not at all. And if we want to take the more global perspective, male mosquitoes are pollinators. Without them, we're screwed. So actually, they are preserving our lives as well. So, but without taking that framework on it, come back to...
It's really about investigating how you deem the importance of your life.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about that when you realize this, you go and jump off a bridge. It's not what we're talking about. No. We're not talking about that, because then you have exactly not understood our point.
Yes.
Our point is looking into that thread of selfing, that hook or anchor of selfing that is connected to my life and the importance of my life and the entitlement that we have in my life.
And if I can't sustain an itch for a day, because that is more important, that I don't have an itch on my forehead.
Yeah.
As opposed to the life of another creature.
But again, we're not talking about being a doormat or going out into nature at nighttime just to give your blood to mosquitoes. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about looking at the sensation of importance of a you. And obviously you can only do this if you have a solid sense of self, if you have solid boundaries, if you have solid self-care, if you have solid self-worth and solid self-love. If those 5 care areas are not in place, then what we're talking about here is basically impossible.
Yeah.
Because then you will just bypass and you will just tap into the I am not worthy of my life, a mosquito is more important than me. It's not what we're saying.
No,
we're not saying that anyone is more important than anyone. That is the point. So if you either go into the boat of, oh, hang on, I'm more important than a mosquito or any animal, or you go into the boat of, everybody else are more important than me, then you haven't understood it. There's more to look at. It's one of the 5 care areas that need to be looked at and need to be taken care of, really, really looked into and worked with, until you can be right here in the middle of the road where you see that no one is more important than anyone else. There's no one that is more important than anyone else.
Yeah, it actually reminded me of... there was a video I saw a while back of the Dalai Lama, and he was saying if somebody asked him if a mosquito, lands on you, what do? He said a lot of times he'll just and blow them away, but if he's feeling really generous, he'll let them take some blood first. Yeah. And so, I think it speaks to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which also brings us back to the pointer about kindness being the base default, that instead of just killing the mosquito, the middle way of just taking the mosquito out of the house, catching it in a cup and bringing it out.
So easy. Turn the light on in the hallway. It's dark in the bedroom. The mosquito will go to the light and you close the door.
Yeah.
So easy.
I always keep jars or cups or something around with a little piece of paper to just slide in the paper and carry it outside and let it go.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. You don't have to be a pincushion for mosquitoes, but you also don't have to kill them. Yeah.
And it obviously talks into veganism as well, about being kind to all living beings, not only the 2-legged ones that are doing right in the world, that is possible for us to love and feel compassionate towards, the conditional love we talked about, but that the unconditional love is for all beings, that there are no beings are more lovable than other beings, and no beings have more in the right of being alive than other beings, that we all have the same right. And if you believe that human beings have more right than other beings, then look into that entitlement. Where does that come from? We're back to the first pointer now, about that feedback loop, that you have a sensory contraction in the body, there's a thought attached to that, there's a sensory contraction coming out of that, and then you're in that feedback loop where you're not even present in what we're saying.
Yeah, and it also brings us back to that old adage of, why is a pig different from a dog? We have this cultural association of one thing versus another, but we don't look into what's underneath that. And so just coming into the fact that all animals are worthy just like us
beings.
Of love.
It's not even animals. It's all unless you see humans as animals as well. But it's all I know. But it's all beings. It's so easy for us when we start to talk about this that people they go animals and humans. But it's just that all beings are in the same boat. Why is one being more entitled to respect or love or kindness than another being? Then we're back to apartheid in South Africa, and we're back to slavery here, when there were slaves here. We're back to trællesamfund in Scandinavia, so it's like, what is it that makes all wars that are going on, that we're some countries entitled to bomb another country? Why is that? Where does that belief come from? That some beings are more entitled to respect and education and love and compassion than other beings. Why is that? And that is back to the first pointer with the feedback loop and the contraction. Really look into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if there's any sort of defensiveness that comes up to that, go underneath that and see where the defensiveness is coming from.
Yeah.
There's something under there that's trying to be protected, and maybe it's the view of yourself as a kind and compassionate person who loves animals. Yeah. And then there's a contradiction. There's that sort of inner
dissonance.
Yeah, cognitive dissonance.
Dissonance.
Well, okay, it didn't come out exactly as it was supposed to. The cognitive dissonance.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That we're the inner cognitive dissonance that so many of us live with.
Yeah.
About, and I did this for so many years, where it was like, I I was Buddhist for years, and it was like I stopped killing mosquitoes and I stopped killing insects, and I'd carry them out, but I was still eating like chicken and cows and stuff. And it was like, it just took a while for it to be like, it was this dawning thing that was like, there's something wrong here. There's something that doesn't line up exactly. But it wasn't, it took a while to really shift and come into perspective. But notice if there's like a resistance to that, to saying, no, but I'm a really kind person, and okay, where is this justification coming from? Yeah. What's underneath that you have to say that I'm a really kind person, or that I love animals, or that whatever?
And why did you hear that we said that you weren't a kind person? Yeah. Why again, what you think we say, how can we do that in a sentence?
Yeah, what you think we say is what you are saying. What you think we're saying is what
you think we're saying about you is what you're saying about you.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. High five to that.
Bing. So it's just taking all of these things.
I love that we create a sentence and we can't remember it ourselves. It's amazing.
But we were putting it into a slightly different context, and that was everything. So, but these are all invitations just to come back to seeing ourselves, or seeing what's underneath all of this in the most raw, honest way possible, and getting a glimpse at all of the motivations and the insecurities and all of the defense mechanisms that are coming up that have kept you in a state of delusion about how the world seems to be around you,
and how you are in the world. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the fifth fetter, is very much about all the resistance. So when we sit and we mention the word veganism, what resistance is happening? Yeah. Congratulations, we're so happy. What just happened? We have no opinion about what you should do in the world. I mean, you do you. Who are we to say anything? We're just pointing out where the awakening automatically will take you. And you can't pick and choose in what resistances you want to look at.
Yeah,
I would like to look at all my resistances except animals and the
yeah, that's a pretty good indication. Yeah,
you know what I mean. You can't pick and choose. Yeah, you can't pick and choose.
No, you have to open up to everything.
Everything, yeah.
And especially the things that you are least likely to want to get into, because that's where the real heart of it is. Yeah,
I'm now vegan. I respect all people except Audi drivers.
Okay, to be fair, no. I actually have no idea who even like I have no preconceived notion of what an Audi driver is.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you should come to Europe. Okay, it's a thing.
It's a European thing then.
If you have an Audi, please, Yeah.
No, I have no idea.
Oh my god! If Janice is driving if there's such Janice driving an Audi and she's sitting and watching this.
Oh no!
I love you.
I love you. I'm sorry.
Please forgive me. Thank you.
No, but it's funny. Yeah, but again, that's like a cultural thing,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Like if you said like a Hummer driver here, we would have an idea in our head of who you're talking about, because there's like a stereotype
in Europe we have,
about that.
They're Americans. Yeah. Not all Americans, but always an American.
Always American, yeah, for sure. But like Audi, I don't have like any notion of.
It's a European thing.
That's interesting. Which shows again how completely
generic it is.
Yeah.
So that was the 10 pointers.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't. I don't know why it works sometimes and not other times.
Because it's a Mac. It works.
It works.
Aw.
Yay. So, lots of love. Lots of love. Lots of love.
What is
that? Was that you did?
Was that?
Oh my god.
Okay,
yay.
So maybe that's a good one then.
We love Mac. We love Mac. And Audi drivers. I think that was it. That was the lower 5 fetters, and this is the end of the 5th. There's actually one lesson more than this one. I have recorded that. That's why it's all humbly bumbly in my mind. But come to the inquiry that we have every other Tuesday. We have planned it now, so there's actually a group you can go to every single week, except for summer and Christmas. So there's inquiry group on Tuesdays, every other Tuesday. There's Q&A every other Friday. It's always at 12 o'clock Eastern.
Eastern time.
Eastern time.
Yeah, sometimes it's daylight, sometimes it's standard.
Yeah. Eastern time. Check
where
online.
we are in the year. Yeah.
And you have one-to-ones.
I have, yeah.
And you can go on Calendly and you can see Todd's schedule and you can book a time and you get a Zoom link right away.
Yeah.
For the slot that is open. So I think that was that.
I think so.
It was enjoyable as always.
Always.
Yeah, I love this.
Me too.
It's so great. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
No,
I don't know how it does the fireworks.
No.
How did you do that?
Well, I did this, and then while that was happening, I was like, and then it happened. But we also gave what happens if we do? Yep. There it is. So it's a heart and thumbs up at the same time. Is that it? No, that's not it. Okay.
And if somebody knows how to turn this off, please write in the comment section.
It's funny, but it's not helpful. Yeah.